Welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show. My name is Lynnis van Rhijn. I'm a life and business success mentor to female entrepreneurs and small business owners who want to build their business successfully but on their own terms. I help them implement mindset, strategies, systems and tools so that they can work on their business and no longer in it. Today at the Women Who Make Things Happen show, I have the privilege of interviewing Lynnis Mullins. Lynnis is the CEO of PraiseWorks Health and Wellness, a faith-based mind, body, spirit wellness company that specializes in educated women 40 and over on total wellness. Lynnis is also an accomplished praise dancer. She's also the host and producer of the Wellness Journey Live, a featured program on BlogTalk Radio. She's the publisher and editor-in-chief of the digital magazine Wellness Women 40 and Beyond. And the list goes on and on. I will let her tell you more about it. Lynnis, welcome to the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show.
Well, thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here. It's been a lot of fun getting to know you over the last few minutes as we were working on our technical stuff. So I'm glad that we were able to work things out, and it's great to be here.
You're welcome, and I'm glad you contacted me because you were the one who came to me and said, "Hey, I'm interested." Yeah. So tell us more about your journey, because you seem to do a lot. And I even stopped in my reading the biography. Tell us more about your background.
Yeah, I do a lot. And I think one of the things that I love about what I do is I've had a chance to incorporate all the different gifts, talents, and abilities that I've been blessed with and really pour it into my business. But prior to this, for 25 years, I was a human resource executive, and I worked for various companies, and I was in charge of the recruitment arm of the business. Mm-hmm. And I loved doing that because it put me in touch with people, and it was the good side of human resources. I was helping people get jobs and not, get fired. I wasn't disciplining or anything. I did that for a little while, and I realized I didn't like that. I didn't like performance management. I liked, helping people find jobs, and I loved that job. At the age of 51, though, I had an epiphany. I found out that I had an anxiety disorder through something that happened. I found out that I was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, and I was recommended that I take a respite. So I went away for a week at this respite. It's a very interesting place. It was a place where people were making their transition back into society after being in a psychiatric facility. So I quickly realized that while I had this anxiety disorder, I wasn't crazy. I just needed some time to find out what was going on with Lynnis. Mm-hmm. And in that process, I realized that I really needed more than a week. And so I took a year off, a sabbatical, 1 year. And in that year, I realized that one of the things that I didn't want to do was to go back to my job.
That was clear.
Yeah. I had this idea that I was going to go back to my, one of my roots. I've got like 5 different roots. One of my roots of dance, because I was a dance minor in college, and I've danced all my life, and I danced professionally for a while before I started, having babies. And I decided I would teach women over 40 to dance. And so that's what I started doing. And what I found out was that women needed so much more than just dance. I had women that were, who were students of mine that were obese, some that were overcoming cancer, chronic disease, high blood pressure, divorce, empty nest syndrome, laid off. I mean, just,
Yeah, you name it.
Yeah, a conundrum of issues, and they were all going through something. And whatever it was going through, it was exacerbating itself into wellness issues, And so I thought, well, what else could I do besides, dance to help these women? And that's when I decided to re-educate myself, to find out more about holistic living. I had always lived pretty holistically, but really incorporating all kinds of different modalities that might help someone from a mind, body, spirit perspective. So my company went from PraiseWorks, which was teaching dance, to PraiseWorks Health and Wellness. That's really where the name came from. And here I am 7 years later with 3 radio shows, as you mentioned, and publication, the Wellness Woman 40 and Beyond magazine, a few ebooks that I've written, and a coaching service. And it's all about helping women over 40. Really now, these days, more towards 50, since I'll be 59 in just a couple of months. So, you do what you're familiar with. And I definitely know what's going on with the 50s. And I help women to reconnect with themselves and to do what's best for them from their perspective in terms of wellness. Because everybody, there's all kinds of practices out there. It doesn't resonate with everyone, but everybody can make some incremental changes in their life to help them be more well when it comes to their mind, body, spirit connection.
Beautiful. So tell us more about, because I told you the purpose of the show is to inspire women to go after their dreams and or reinvent their lives. And I always say to step into the driver's seat of their life so that they can reinvent it. And we know it's not easy. So tell us more about the challenges that you came across and how you've handled them.
Well, it's been a 7-year journey, and it truly has been a journey, which is kind of an ongoing theme of my company. I have a show called The Wellness Journey, and my page says Journey to Wellness on that Facebook and things like that, because life is all about the journey. But for me in particular, probably the biggest stumbling block was staying not necessarily inspired but motivated when I wasn't making any money. I knew there was something that I was supposed to be doing, but how to monetize it, how to get the message across, because when I started I didn't know anything about the internet. Was re-educating myself about wellness, had to go back to school. And while I'm doing all of this, my friends are looking at me like, okay, you're 51. You should be retiring soon. Why are you walking away from a healthy 6-figure salary? Why are you shooting yourself in the foot? But I just knew that there was something else that I was supposed to be doing. And the universe was kind of like pulling me towards that. And what encouraged me to keep going is I began to search for and look for those aha moments and then play them back in my head when something would connect and click and something good came out of it. And that's what really, pushed me to continue. The other thing was that I really tried to listen to that inner voice, the good voice. And there's a lot of voices going on in my head. The good voice. And you know when it's the good voice. And when it's like, okay, that's really not true. But boy, I really do feel that way voice. And so I started listening more to the good voice and really beginning to celebrate those small incremental successes. And then I kind of changed who I hung out with. I started hanging out with women who got it, who understood the desires that I had and that quest for, pursuing your passions and not just settling. I found that there's a lot of times in our 50s, whatever, you have a choice. You can either settle, and I'm not poo-pooing settling. There's a lot of security in settling, or you can push a little bit forward outside your comfort zone and really go for what it is that makes you happy. And, what a concept. Wow, I feel happy. I may not have as much money as I had back then, but I had lots of money and I was miserable. I would wake up in the morning back then when I was working for corporate America. And the best way to describe it to you is that first thing in the morning, I would wake up and I would feel like I was on a roller coaster going straight downhill with no restraints. Have you ever been on a roller coaster before?
Oh, gosh.
That's how it felt. When I wake up, I opened my eyes and went, shoo, and it's like, okay, what am I going to have to deal with now? It wasn't like, oh, good morning, world. It was like, okay, what's going to happen today? And then trying to figure out what can I do to control the outcome? Because I want to control everything so there'll be no surprises, so that I don't have that scary feeling all day long. And that's how my life became from the time I was about 45 to like 53 or so. That's how I was every morning.
Go.
And I began to find a way to heal myself holistically from that. And I went to therapist, but I also made some changes in my life from a self-care perspective, so that I could have more of a realistic viewpoint of what was really going on versus what I thought was going on, in my mind.
So I will just rewind a little bit, coming back to what you mentioned about, because that happens quite often, about people around you saying, hey, but why are you doing this, etc. How were you handling that? Because that happens quite often. You have that idea of what you would want for yourself, but the people around you are not necessarily supporting you, sometimes even opposite. How did you handle that?
Well, you know, it's interesting because I would say that probably the loudest voice, my girls have always been supportive, even though they haven't always gotten it. But some of the loudest voices came from my closest friends because this was not within their experiential set.
Yeah, yeah.
Are entrepreneurs. They were used to working for a paycheck, so they couldn't understand, why are you working all the time? Whereas me, it didn't look like work. It didn't feel like working. But and even in those times that I felt like it was like working, some parts I didn't necessarily always enjoy. I knew that it was all coming together for the greater good in terms of what the vision was. So I just started being more open to the idea of new people in my life. Yeah. I'd had the same friends for 30 years. Now I'm so happy to say that some of my closest friends, this may sound strange, but some of my closest friends are women who I may not have personally met before. I have close friendships with women all over the world because of this business. And they're people that I probably would not have met any other way, except for if I had not done this business. And they have been, I can tell you some really great stories of how they have supported me. Yeah. I had a situation where my computer was destroyed, and everything was on my hard drive, everything. And a lot of things on my flash drive too, thank goodness. But without my computer, I can't do my business. Yep. And one of my, what I call cyber sisters, I was letting her know what happened. And she got on our little network. And the next thing I know, within a week, I didn't have just one computer. I had two. Wow. Somebody sent me a desk computer, and then someone sent me a laptop within a week. I mean, just blessed me with that. And the reason why they wanted to do that, I guess, was because they wanted to support what it was I was doing. They believed in what I was doing, in my message, and they knew my passion. And they had been through something themselves at one time, and someone had, done something for them.
A way to pay back, yeah.
Yes, yes. And that's just one of the stories. But it's things like that that make you realize, okay, I must be doing something of value. I must be, because how else?
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I left a toxic relationship something like 2 years ago, I really was lost, and I did reach out to, I have cyber friends, as you call them, all over the world as well, and I did reach out, and I was amazed that one of the coaches gave me 6 free coaching sessions to get me on track again. I mean, just out of the blue, it arrived like that. I just said to her, oh, sorry, but I can't pay for it. And she said, no, I'm just paying back because it was given to me as well. So it's amazing. It's amazing. I love it. Yeah. I love it. So you indirectly did refer to the fact of surrounding you with different people who are more aligned with your new way of being, etc. So that's a very important tip. I'd like to come back as well to the notion of self-care that you were referring to. Yes. Women are usually quite bad at that. So what did you do in terms of self-care? How did you take care of yourself?
I've talked about this a lot, and I've written about it too, and I kind of have this title for what I do. I try to start my day in a positive way. That's very important to me. So I start my day inspirationally. In fact, before I even put my feet on the ground, I have right next to my bed a pitcher of water with lemon in it, and I drink lemon water in the morning. And the reason why I drink that first thing in the morning is it's a great wake up for me. It wakes up my body. It also wakes up my brain, because the brain is more than 90% water. It kind of cleanses the liver, helps get the toxins out, and it gives you electrolytes, kind of energizes you in the mornings. That's the first thing I do. Is I want to honor my temple by putting something good in it. I'm already beginning to start thinking about something positive, and then I spend some time in my prayer room. My prayer room, or my war room, as some people call it now, has all the things that are near and dear to me. My books, my pictures of my children, my goals and objectives, my inspirations. It's a wonderful room. And we're not in that room now because that room is in California. I'm talking to you from Texas. But even here in Texas, in my other home, I've put together a spot that still has my focal points in it. And then I spend some time in prayer and journaling. And for the last, 10 years, I've belonged to a prayer line. So first thing in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning, I call into my prayer line. And we all give prayer requests, and we pray. I try to read something inspirational, and I also, when I'm journaling, I do gratitude journaling.
Oh, yeah.
I write down the 3 things in particular, and sometimes more than that, that I'm grateful for. And then I begin to start thanking, I call him the CSO, and that's not my word. It's a word I learned from Mae McCarthy, who wrote a book, Path to Wealth. And the CSO is your Chief Spiritual Officer.
Oh, I love it.
And so, yeah, so I write to my Chief Spiritual Officer, and I thank him for everything that he's done. But I also thank him prophetically for things I'm believing for. They may not have happened yet, but I'm declaring them as if they have. You know, and then I take some time for movement. I think movement is so important during the first part of your day. I go for a brisk walk. I do my yoga. Sometimes I put on my music and just dance around the kitchen crazy as I'm preparing my coffee or breakfast or whatever. And speaking of breakfast, I do believe in it. So I do a green smoothie or something healthy to get started, to have fuel, so that when I get to that energy cycle towards the end of the day, where you kind of go down a little bit in energy, like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it has something to pull from. You know, it energizes you to make sure I'm, you know, putting superfoods in my smoothie and not eating other kinds of things that, you know, heavy breakfasts that might give you energy, but they kind of weigh you down later on during the course of the day. And so by starting my day with inspiration, with honoring my body, and with movement, because we're not stick figures, we're meant to move, you know, we're meant to do things. By doing that, I began to view my life and my love for myself in a different way. When I was working for corporate America, I didn't take the time to do this at all. I mean, it was crazy in the morning. It was crazy in the morning. That by the time I got to work, I mean, it felt like I worked a full day.
Yeah.
Now, of course, it doesn't feel that way, but there are ways that you can incorporate that same kind of thing, even if you're working and have kids. And part of it is just making yourself a priority. You know,
absolutely.
Maybe you go to bed a little earlier. You know, we have on-demand TV, DVRs, all kinds of things. You can look at your favorite show later on. You can binge watch it, you know, on the weekend or whatever. But go to bed a little bit earlier so you can get up earlier to do those things. I have 4 girls, and they're all very close together in terms of their age. And I started getting up super early like that, because that was the only time I would have to myself. Yes. And so I kept doing that. But as I began getting older, I wasn't spending that time. I was getting up early to do for them, and I wasn't doing it for myself.
I see.
And over time, it caught up with me, so that by the time I was 51, I was just totally stressed out.
Yeah, washed out.
Yes.
I love it. You know, it's funny when, as you say, checking our technical problems first, we were talking, and I was telling you that I was always amazed. I'm always amazed at how aligned I can be with the guests that I'm having, and our way to start a day is extremely similar. Not necessarily in the same order. But I do encompass most of what you're describing, and I'm doing it myself also. I love that's an advice I often give to my clients, the uplifting music part. I have my preferred musics that I listen to. I listen to someone that is not necessarily known, but I love the lyrics. Is this Regina Rose, Step Into Your Power. I love Alicia Keys. Gosh, I forget the name of the song. This Girl Is on Fire. Happy, Pharrell Williams. I mean, these are all, you know, things that immediately get you on track in the right mood in the morning, and the journaling and the gratitude, and absolutely. And for me, it's mandatory. And the green juice, and the breakfast is absolutely essential. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And, you know, I understand. I really do. Because in my job in corporate America, I was traveling quite a bit. Yeah. And I still have my 4 daughters. I was married. I had all these things that, you know, are so easy to put before yourself.
Absolutely.
And that's one of the reasons why I did get as out of order as I did. And if there's anything that I want to share with women is that with all the different roles that we play in everyone else's life, the main role we need to play is to being the star of our own life.
Absolutely.
We need to be the star of our own life, because if you just have to put it this way, if you want to be there, continue to be there in the way that you want to, which I'm sure is with excellence, for all the different roles that you play, then you have to take care of yourself, because eventually you're not going to be there. You're going to break down. I know I was there. I wasn't there for my family when I was there for that week in respite. I mean, I was not there. They had to figure it out for themselves. Yeah. But I had to take that time because for so many years. And I found out, and the other thing too I found out was, you know, we all have different experiences and sometimes traumas in our life. And I had a pretty significant trauma in my life. And I talk about it on my site. I did a recording about it. But basically, I lost my mom prematurely. Last time I saw her, I was on my way to my office to show off my 5-week-old. I was on maternity leave, and I stopped by her house to pick up some clothes because my dryer wasn't working. So I went to pick up the baby's clothes, and I, told her I'd see you later, and she said, okay, talk to you later. So and this is before cell phones and everything. So I'm at my office showing the baby, and my dad calls me at my office. And to this day, I'm not quite sure how he knew I was at my office. But anyway, he called me. And he told me to please go back home to my mom and dad's house, the family home, and be there with my grandfather who was visiting from out of town, that my mom had been in an accident. So I said, oh, okay. So I go back home, and I immediately felt, something wasn't right. I felt it in my spirit. I said, I probably need to call somebody to come and be with me. So, I called one of those friends that I've known all my life. And I realized I didn't have the right phone number because I left my Franklin planner. At work. I ran out there and left it. Back then it was Franklin Planners. I didn't have a cell phone.
No.
So I called my mom's office because I knew my mom had all my best friends' telephone numbers. That's how close we were, So I called her secretary, picked up the line. I said, listen, I need to call some people. I need to call my girlfriend. And I think mom has it on her Rolodex. Rolodex is back then.
Rolodex.
1989. And so she said, oh, Lynnis, we are so devastated. I'm so sorry. It was so tragic. And I'm like,
oh, you heard it like that? Oh my God.
I said, you mean she's gone? And she said, oh my God. She dropped the phone, and then I could hear in the background people crying, and I didn't know what's going on. And finally, my mom's boss, he picks up the phone, Dr. Jackson, and he says, Lynnis, I'm so sorry. He said, we didn't know you didn't know. Your mom was on her way to a board meeting, and she was hit by a fire truck on her way to the meeting. We don't know the details, but she didn't make it. And that's how I found out.
Oh, that's terrible.
I was, even now when I think about it, it still takes me right there. That was the worst thing in the world. And from that moment on, without my even realizing it, I became a victim of post-traumatic stress. I didn't know that. I had no idea what that was. And it wasn't until I took this time to get well, finally, because I had been for grief counseling and all this other stuff, because at that time I had 3 little kids, and being without my mom, it was just devastating. My mom was younger than I am. She was 56 at the time. And so in the various counseling over time, finally, when I was about 52, a counselor finally told me, you know what, everything that you're describing in terms of how you feel in the mornings, going straight downhill and all that, she said, you're a victim of post-traumatic stress. One of the things with post-traumatic stress is anxiety feelings. You're trying to control the outcome, because subconsciously in my mind, I was going to never, ever feel that surprise again. So no matter what I had to do, even if it meant lying, even if it meant not being honest with myself about whatever's going on, or honest with anyone else, I was going to control that outcome.
Control the outcome, yes.
Control.
Yeah.
And of course, that's impossible. You cannot control, you have no control over anything.
Of course.
So I had to relearn that. And I relearned it as a result of doing this business, as I began to meet these wonderful women, and began to learn more about holistic living and other ways to be well besides popping pharmaceuticals or getting a limb cut off or surgeries and things like that, which a lot of us end up doing because of our lifestyles.
Yeah, of course.
We know about how to eat correctly and how important exercise is and all that other kind of stuff. As I began learning some of these things, and for me it was from a spiritual perspective, from my mind health, I began to realize there was another way to live life without having to control the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. And there is so much power in letting go, huh?
Yes, it was. Yeah. And and I still have to reality test myself, because I still sometimes fall back into those old behaviors. I have 4 grown daughters who I love dearly. Their ages are 31, 28, 27, and 24. And they're adults. They have children now. They have houses. They're out of college. They're all functioning. But I'm still trying to be a hands-on parent. There's nothing worse than trying to be a hands-on parent to adults. So I had to relearn. So you can't know what's going on with them. They have the same kind of issues I have now. They're adults. So I went from being a hands-on parent, I had to learn to do that, to being a parental coach.
I love it.
Give them a little advice and then let it go.
Let it go.
And not own it. Yes, that's right. I had to learn how to do that. And I think as you're making changes in your life that are for the better, so that you don't slip back to some of that old behavior, because it's so easy for us to do.
So easy to slip back. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got a reality check. You got to check in with yourself and say, hey,
constantly.
Exactly.
I'm conscious of time. Tell us more about who you work with and where people can find you.
Absolutely. I work with women over 40. I guess it's because I've lived that. I've been there, and they can find out more about my services, my shows, my books, my magazine if they go to PraiseWorks.biz. It's one word, PraiseWorks.biz. And there you'll find links to all my social media, to my blog, to my magazine. I do offer a free coaching program. I specialize in holistic stress reduction, because usually stress and anxiety are they kind of go hand in hand, stress, anxiety, depression, they kind of all go hand in hand. But I specialize in holistic stress reduction because I've lived it. And I know what it's like. I know what it feels like. And I know the things you can do to help at least minimize the impact that stress can have on your body. Absolutely. Because prolonged stress can move to other things that can make you unwell.
Enough clients there to keep you, of prospective clients to keep you busy there with a topic like that one. Yes, absolutely. Yes, we need to clone you.
That would be fun.
So thank you so much. This we could go on for hours. This really was very interesting and fascinating, and yes, it resonated a lot with me as well on a lot of the topics. So for the viewers and the listeners, if you too want to reinvent your life, if you too want to have a life that is a life, not just something that you rush through, I can offer you a complimentary discovery consultation, and you can book that on my website at agnesvanrijn.com, and that is www.anyesvanrhijn.com. Thank you so much, Lynniss, and for the listeners and the viewers, see you in the next show. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.